All right, folks, it's that time of the week again. If you clicked on this video and you're not sure what this is, once a week I sit down and answer comments from our regular viewers and others who have left comments on our videos throughout the week. If that doesn't sound like something that you're interested in watching, totally understand if you click off the video right now. Before we get into the comments, quick note. I know some of y'all have already seen this. Tuesday, we launched a podcast. It's called Words Like That, hosted by me. It's an arts and media podcast. I talk about a lot of music, movies. Haven't talked about literature yet, but that's another passion of mine I want to talk about. And every now and then I'll throw in some other topics of interest. But we threw the first 2 episodes on the Words Like That YouTube channel. The handle is at Words Like That Official. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts, just about. And we also put the first episode on the Random Mind channel to try to build a little bit of interest, and we'll be posting clips on the Words Like That channel for those who don't want to sit down and watch 45-minute hour podcasts. And we'll also be, for right now anyway, throwing a couple of music-related clips from the Words Like That channel to Random Mind, kind of cross-pollinate a little bit. If that sounds like something you're interested in, if you would go to the Words Like That YouTube channel and subscribe, you would have my undying gratitude. All right, now let's get into the comments. First up on our suggestions, Elizabeth Ross, great viewer, great support of the channel, suggests doing other duets with Chris Rupp and Tim Faust. Angels Among Us, and we had those in the comments last week. So I'll definitely, that's on our ongoing list. Angela Miller says, excuse me, I missed one. Miami Dolphins fan, another regular viewer of the channel, says, you'll love home free Christmas videos. So many great ones, a couple of funny ones, but as always, the music is stunning and awesome. Yeah, I'm going to have to, I did a few, like maybe 4 last year. They were fantastic. And I'm going to have to probably in October start putting the Christmas stuff on the poll so we can get those filmed and out in time for Christmas and cleared on YouTube. Angela Miller says you need to react to their cover of Love Train. Okay, got you. And I'm not sure if this is Home Free or Chris and Tim. I'll have to check on that, but we'll get that pulled up. Diana Ross specifically requested they sing it for her 75th birthday party. Wow. Or that they sing for her 75th birthday party. That is incredible. Patricia Vernon says, the whole song is awesome, but Tim's bass stood out for me. When you get to Christmas, Joy to the World from 2013 is a must listen. It's gospel. Rob just totally going off, and it's incredible. Gotcha. We'll do. I'll definitely put it on the Patreon poll and hoping that'll win. And Rosita J, or Aunt Rosita J, I'm not sure how that's supposed to be pronounced, but it says Tim actually talked about that he learned about Kenny Rogers contacting them while they were in church for the concert and rehearsing the Butts remix, which I haven't done yet. You haven't done that, it's hilarious, but that would have been memorable. Okay, yeah, I bet, and I'm going to put that one. That one was requested early on. I just have not gotten to it yet. That needs to go on a poll. Jillian Drysdale, another great viewer, says their Disney Sidekick is also amazing. Yes, that one will be coming out. I've already filmed that one, and the reaction to that will be coming out not this Monday, but the following Monday, whatever date that is. I'm totally lost on what date we're on here. And finally, Fam at 161 says, if you want some lyrics, check out his song Jackson Cage. And this is on our Bruce reactions. Okay, I'm not familiar with that song. I don't think it doesn't ring a bell from that it was on one of the albums that we listened to. But if it's on album, we'll get to it. And if it's something off of a compilation or something, I'm sure I'll get to that also. And finally, our suggestions, Dagmar S., another wonderful viewer of the channel, recommends on Gordon Lightfoot, Steel Rail Blues, Ribbon of Darkness, Sundown. Sundown, I know, and I didn't realize I knew it until our producer, Kyle Graves, played it live a few months ago, and I was at the show. Rainy Day People, Cotton Jenny, Black Day in July, and Canadian Railroad Trilogy. Gotcha. Yeah, definitely hope to check out some more Gordon Lightfoot. And for all of our EOV Club members, we have Karina, Elizabeth Ross, Maggie, Elizabeth Cole, Rod, and Carol. All of y'all are great. I know this is a list that our comment monitor put on here of all of y'all who said your EOV Club. If you don't know what EOV Club is, you have to watch this entire video, and then you will know. Can't skip ahead. Got to watch the whole thing. On our comments video last week, Itzel1735 says, I can't listen to Matt as a hatter. Too sad. I'll second the recommendation for Bleach Blonde Bottle Blues, though. And this was on... Was this on... I can't remember who... Well, I recognize the titles of these songs, but I can't remember what artists they were suggested for. Dagmar S. says, glad you're feeling better. Thank you, Dagmar. Appreciate that. Enjoyed your version of The Wait. Thank you. I've always been a big fan of the band. Yeah, absolutely. So sad to hear about Robbie Robertson passing away. What a great Canadian songwriter and guitarist. He wrote The Wait, Night That Drove Dixie Down, Up on Cripple Creek. I mean, that's like their top 3 songs right there. He also had a great solo career, 100%. E.A. Cole, another great viewer, says Chris Rupp wrote Moving On. The a cappella version he did with Home Free to mark his departure from the group is lovely and very heartfelt. He also released 2 versions of him singing and accompanying himself on the piano. One was shot in daytime, the other at night. Interesting. I'll check those out. BossFan49, great viewer, one of our patrons, says, come on, folks, let's get the Larkin Poe algorithm rocking. They have lots of great covers and rootsy bluesy original music. By the way, Cole, 6 of those 30 views were mine. Sorry if that was misleading. First, Gordon Lightfoot, now Robbie Robertson. I'm keeping a whiteboard of all these tragic losses and your coincidental video uploads. Don't leave town. Yeah. That's great. Look, first of all, on the views, I know at one point YouTube was like cracking down on accounts that were on the view counts from accounts that it was like the same account watching the video over and over again. So there's a possibility that it quit counting yours after the first 2. I'm not sure. I can't remember all the specifics of that. But on the Gordon Lightfoot and Robbie Robertson, it's like Murder, She Wrote, the old Angela Lansbury show. No matter where she goes, somebody always dies. And it's like, maybe it's you. Maybe it's you, Jessica. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I'm starting to feel like that. On our Kenny Rogers Home free video, Minnie Ruth, this is going to be Ruth Minnie, one of our regular viewers, been with us since I think our first home free reaction, says, nice reaction, is pretty cool. Kenny reached out to them 100%. Grace Parker, another great viewer of the channel, says, I absolutely loved how surprised you were that Kenny reached out to them. I couldn't be happier that he did. It wasn't very long after that we lost Kenny, and I couldn't be more thankful that we have all of his recordings we can listen to. As you can tell, it was still early for home free since Chris was still in the group. It's a really great arrangement, and I loved it, and your reaction, as always, UVC. Thank you, Grace. Much appreciated for that. Marg Fried says it was an honor for the guys to have Kenny ask them to do this song. Kenny also invited them to sing this with him on The Tonight Show. They had to arrive several hours before the show for rehearsal. Unfortunately, their flight was canceled due to mechanical problems. They ran around trying to get on another plane, but everything was canceled or delayed due to fog. Finally, they rented a private jet, which they couldn't afford, and still arrived too late to get on the show. Man, but they did get to hang out with Kenny in the green room. He was very kind to them, told them stories about things that went wrong with him, and gave them advice. It seems like the older generation of singers are very impressed by Home Free. The Oak Ridge Boys, Alabama, and Mark Wills reached out to them, and Diana Ross asked them to perform at their birthday party. I bet it's those tight harmonies. Yeah, they're just incredible. I did not realize until that previous comment about the Diana Ross bit. But yeah, but it's funny though, when in my experience, when something like that happens, even though you think, man, I wish I just could have made, if I could have just made that show, but if something like that happens out of your control, it probably wasn't meant to be, and who knows if they had gotten on another plane or made it to the show on time, something tragic could happen. We never know, but I know that had to sting in that moment that they weren't able to make that gig. Carol Burnett, another great viewer of the channel, says, Austin can just make those sounds. I can't remember if you've done American Pie yet. I did, but Don McLean asked them to do the 50th anniversary edition of American Pie, right? And they were interviewed in the documentary about the song, and I have got to watch that. I want to watch that for the channel, at least put it on reaction on Patreon. I haven't gotten to it yet. When they approached Lee Greenwood for permission to record God Bless USA, he wanted to record it with them. After they performed at Elvira with the Oak Ridge Boys have stayed in touch and consider themselves mentors. They've also performed with Alabama and other well-known artists. As you already know, we all think they're awesome. Thanks, Cole. Thank you, Carol, for all that information. Appreciate that. Itzel says, are you a Statler Brothers fan? I have never really gotten in the Statler Brothers. I know some of their songs. I probably know more than I realize, but I've never really, with country, I've never really latched on to anybody and gotten deep in past a certain point. And when I say a certain point, I mean like Roger Miller in the mid-'60s. And beyond that, I know some songs, I know some artists, but I've never really latched on. Home Free did Flowers on the Wall last year. Okay, the original song won Best Contemporary Group Performance Grammy in 1966, but I'm not sure if you consider this one contemporary or not. It's on the more contemporary side of what came before. And see, I didn't even realize the Statler Brothers were out that early. That's how out of the loop on country history I am. But for me, the big shift happened in the early 80s. Tim said they're working on 2 albums. I'm really hoping one of them is late November release of a new Christmas album. Yeah, that'd be great. Baby Fry, another great viewer of the channel, says, love this. Kenny sounded great for 75. Home Free did The Gambler as a tribute to Kenny when he passed. So sad they didn't get to do another song with him. Such a good rendition. I believe that weird sound is from Austin. I've heard him do this sound before, but of course I can't think of the song right now. Might be Singing in the Boondocks. Anyway, between Austin and Adam, good sound effects, good reaction, always cold. Thank you, Baby Fry. Appreciate that. Kirsten Dunstan, another regular viewer of the channel, says this is a great song and video. I always appreciate how your musical knowledge and experience influences your reactions. Not everyone can appreciate the musical complexity of this song, and it's always nice to hear someone react to it who does appreciate that aspect. Thank you, Kristen. Appreciate that. On our Disney Villains video, Veronica Thunder. Veronica, another great viewer of the channel. I can't remember, have we had a Veronica comment in a while? I can't remember. Says, I like this a lot. Disney Sidekicks is my favorite of the Disney ACA Top 10s. It is my favorite as well. I believe I say that on the reaction. It should be out in 2 weeks. The outro is from the medley on their Once Upon an Ever After album. Okay, it's great except for Grim Reigning Ghost, and This Is Halloween. The songs on it do not have any videos. Okay, interesting. I think you reacted to both those videos. I have. But if you want to react to audio only, I highly recommend that album. Yeah, that would be a good one. Do a Patreon, do the full album, and then pull a couple of tracks off for YouTube. Alona Dever, another great viewer of the channel, says the ACA Top 10s are so much fun because they are live. At that moment when Lane brushed Jeff's hair back, hilarious, 100%. Denali Cat says, great reaction. I always love the ACA Top 10s. The outros from their Once Upon an Ever After album. It's on their channel. The full version of Cruella de Vil is on Disney's channel, and the Broadway Disney Channel has a medley for the 20 years on Broadway celebration as well. As for the hero songs, many of the older movies don't even have song they sang or about them. Mowgli didn't have one, neither did many others. That is true. That is true. I didn't consider that. That is true. Shirley Carr, another great viewer of the channel, says they recorded this in the studio at Lane's house, where they used to film a lot before using patty cake. Filmed the video in my room here, too. Much prefer it when you pause rather than talking over the video. Often can't make out what you're saying if the video is still playing, and since you have to pause periodically anyway, it just makes more sense to me than pausing just to avoid copyright strikes. Yeah, there's also a matter of time constraints on both filming and editing. So what I've started doing, I pause one time when we're filming, and then after that point, I'll pull 2 or 3 sections where I take the video off the screen, and it's just me talking. In the actual filming of it, I'm actually talking over the song. But in the editing process, I make it though, we've paused it there. That way, we're able to film it faster. We're able to make where people can hear what I'm saying more times. We're also able to get it up because of copyright, and overall it just works better. Elizabeth Ross says the Disney movies of my childhood were Bambi, Cinderella, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. Consequently, the iconic Disney songs from the last 40 or 50 years mostly went under my radar. Beauty and the Beast got my attention years later because of its early use of computer imaging. I got into teaching digital and interface design during the last half of my art career. Fantastic. So Gaston is a favorite. VoicePlay is always on my list of a cappella talent, so this Disney medley is great fun to me. The VoicePlay members on this earlier group were and still are amazing. Enjoyed it very much. Thanks. Thank you as always, Elizabeth. On Bruce, Tunnel of Love, David Walsh says, Bruce's future wife, Patty, on vocals, a real adult life album. Right? Yeah, and this is an old on Tunnel of Love. I shot that, man, maybe in May, if not June. I think it may have been in May I shot that. Yeah, I know it was definitely in May. Well, it could have been first week of June. Anyway, my daughter was born first weekend in June. I think I shot that before that. So anyway, I've already gone through all of the albums from that, and I'm just now on The Rising, and I've gotten a lot of stuff on Patreon, but I do appreciate anybody comment and give us this information. Carol Burnett says, this one is not a favorite for me, and you're right. It does sound very Huey Lewis in the News-esque. Always appreciate your insights. Thank you, Carol. Doug Reed says, the more you listen to the song, the better it gets. Whatever, I think is how you're supposed to pronounce that, or whatever, says, it sounds like the intro music to Melrose Place. I don't know the intro music to Melrose Place. Did not watch that, although I know what it is. Oscar Berglandy, not sure how that's pronounced, says, I love this song so much. Definitely in my Springsteen top 10. Great lyricism, and the guitar just rocks. Lawrence Westby says, members of the E Street Band were used sparingly on this album. Springsteen himself played most of the instruments and also used a drum machine, right? BossFan49 says, definitely a more modern, sophisticated sound than what we were used to hearing from Bruce at the time. My favorite line is just after the Haunted House line, you've got to learn to live with what you can't rise above. Yeah, it's a great line. On the Words Like That, Episode 1, Beatles AI video, which again is posted on the Words Like That channel, and we also post on Random Mind to kind of bring some folks over. That's the plan anyway. Elizabeth Ross says, AI is terrifying. If any technology can be abused, this is one in so many ways. You have a way of explaining the music of my teen years with which compounds my appreciation of having lived through it. There were no Beatles, no long play albums, 45s were a new phenomenon, no headphones, no stereo. But lordy lord, rock and roll managed to get invented anyhow. R&B edged its way into the mainstream. By the time I got to college in the early 60s, folk music had taken over my attachment to classical music and musical theater, and still no headphones. Sinatra was still crooning, Perry Como was swooning, Elvis's hips keep right on moving, and the Beatles made their lasting mark. Man, that was great, Elizabeth. So well written. Now, when you play those clips of AI Lennon, I just want to cry. Why can't they leave John B? His place in the history of music is sacred to me, and probably to all the original, authentic Beatles fans as well. This is one reason I think attempting to rewrite history is a mistake. I hope you can find a way to provide future Words Like That episodes on YouTube. I will follow them as far as my limited technology allows. Thanks for a truly enjoyable 46 minutes of Words Like That. EOV Club. Thank you, Elizabeth. And yeah, whenever I recorded that episode, I wasn't really intending to have a separate YouTube channel. It was just going to be kind of a mostly audio-only podcast. That changed. It took me so long to get that first video edited and approved for YouTube, because we did use some clips on that one, that I eventually decided, well, I'll just make a separate channel and film these episodes. So if you go subscribe to the Words Like That YouTube channel, you'll get all the episodes that we have. We already got the second episode out. As far as the Beatles, yeah, the more I shot that in June, and the more this is going on with the AI thing, I'm just like, man, this is just bad stuff. This is not good at all. I said in that video, I still don't have a problem with them using AI to clean up John's vocals, because it's something he wrote and he recorded originally, and now we'll be able to hear it better. I don't have a problem with that. When you get into somebody singing and then running their vocals through a John Lennon emulator, it's as a creator and as somebody who likes the sound of Beatles music and John Lennon's, my interest is piqued. I'm like, ooh, I want to listen to that. But at the same time, because I know it's not really him, and it's almost like people are trying to cheat death and bring people back from the grave, and that's like, this is creepy, and I don't like it. So, yeah, I'm with you. Maggie at Play says, Cole, this was lovely. Subscribe. Thank you, Maggie, and I responded to I appreciate you subscribing and commenting on our Words Like That channel, too, and I responded to a couple of your comments on there. Subscribed. As an engineer, I appreciate AI from a technology advancement viewpoint. AI also terrifies me because I can see it used for nefarious purposes, 100%. Not all advancements are such and can be quite harmful. I find AI very physically painful to hear. The voices are just wrong. I did not know about the Lennon AI until you presented it in this program. I was surprised to hear how clean the voices are compared to the other versions of AI voice programs. I came into this world before headphones and stereos were available to the general listening public. After listening to the AI altered snippets you presented, I prefer the original Beatles music. I totally get that. Totally get it. The originals need to be preserved 100%, if for nothing else, to preserve historical record and accuracy of their works. Absolutely. Now listen on headphones to better hear the music and spoken word. What a difference it makes. I was very interested in what you had to say about the younger generations and the use of headphones. Yeah, everybody's listening through headphones these days. The summer of the start of my senior year at university, I skipped a material science class to watch Star Wars in the local movie theater. With student ID in the early afternoon matinee, this cost $1. Oh, for the days. I'm not certain I would appreciate the enhanced version of the movie. I think this new channel of yours will be a wonderful learning tool. Thanks, Cole. Delighted to listen to your easy-to-understand explanations. Now off to listen to the other video posted on the channel, EOV. Thank you so much for that, Maggie. All that was just great. Thanks for your support, subscribing, and all this information. On the Star Wars, if I had a time machine and could go back and do one thing. And of course, I also think I'd like to go back and talk to great thinkers in history, philosophers, theologians, but we probably wouldn't be able to communicate that well. So if I had to pick one thing just for sheer enjoyment to go do and not expand in my mind, it would be go back in time to May 1977, Star Wars opening weekend, and watch it on the big screen on its opening day. I can imagine, but I can't go beyond that. I can only imagine what that experience must have been to have seen that on the big screen with all those people. You'd never really seen anything like this, the special effects being groundbreaking. I really wish I could go back and do that. As far as the enhanced version, it just, the best, in 1995, and I'm going to get off on a Star Wars nerd tangent here if I don't watch myself, but in 1995, George Lucas released the THX and Dolby Digital versions on VHS. Those were great because it just made the sound and it cleaned up the film and cleaned up the sound and made it where you could hear detail and see very clearly. Those were great. Then in 97, that's when he started really changing the film, putting in the additional scenes, using a lot of heavy CGI. I liked that as a kid, and I thought it was fine as an addendum to the original films, but that if those would have come out in 1977, if that version of Star Wars had come out in 1977, of course, it would have been possible, but just say, in an alternate universe, somehow George Lucas invented CG technology 20 years earlier, and that would have come out first. I don't think it would have. It may have still reached the same level of popularity, but I don't think it would have lasted quite as long because the original cut is a better film than the expanded versions. And then since then, he's just been adding all kind of junk. And then, I was hoping when Disney bought them that they would go back and restore the originals. That hasn't happened. Doesn't like it's going to happen. I don't know. Carol Burnett says, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Well, I enjoyed your portion. I didn't like the AI-produced voices. AI is scary. Even without headphones, I could hear the difference in the Beatles mix. The sound seemed fuller. I definitely remember mono music. I'm pretty sure the first record player that my family owned was stereo, but not all of the records were. I look forward to more of these EOV. Thank you, Carol. Appreciate that. And yeah, one thing about this AI bit, I was listening to somebody the other day, a podcaster the other day, who said that he knows a lot of people that are in the upper echelon of these tech companies that are making this AI stuff, and they said anything you hear in public is a year behind what the tech companies actually have. So we're sitting here and listening to the AI John Lennon on these fan-made stuff. That was the peak at the tech companies a year ago. So they've already had a year out in advance. So this time next year, when we hear an AI John Lennon, unless they've made stuff like that illegal, we're probably not going to be able to tell the difference. Seriously, it's just getting that much better. Pam Forrester, great viewer of the channel, says, love your commentary on this. Wasn't sure what to make of it. AI is a bit scary, and part of me thinks we should let it be as far as classics. It's a Beatles pun. I like that. As far as classics, guess we'll see where it goes. Thank you for the thoughtful commentary. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate that. And finally, on our Carefree Highways, Gordon Lightfoot Carefree Highway video, Itzel says, I've been a Gordon Lightfoot fan since my earliest music memories. Carefree Highways near the top of my list. Alberta Bound reminds me of happy travel memories. I'd love it if Home Free's Adam Chance had a go at a Lightfoot song. Yeah, 100%. Specifically something from the David Foster period, East of Midnight album. Of course, I don't know what that is. I think Chance could take the more modern arrangements back to early Lightfoot guitar with a more un-Gordon vocal. Keep my fingers crossed. Yeah, I'd love to hear that. Pam Forrester says, I love his smooth yet somehow powerful voice and how he can just pull you into a story. I always liked him, but as time goes on, I appreciate him so much more. Appreciate the work you put in the video and commentary. Thank you, Pam. Appreciate you. Grace Parker says, I love this song, Gordon Lightfoot. What's not to love after all? The hallmark of great songwriting is the fact that they use them in movies. 100%. Absolutely. Finally, on this video, Valencia the Queen says, nicest breakup song I've ever heard after he left her. True. And then finally, we got a little bonus comment here. This is from Boss Fan on the Larkin Poe video from the previous week. And Boss Fan says, Captain Pedantic here. This is going to be good. For those who don't know, Dobro is actually a brand name, short for, and I actually didn't know what the real name was. Dope Vera Brothers? That I didn't know. I knew it was a brand name, but I didn't know that was the shortened version here. Who started their own guitar company building resonator guitars, but the term Dobro is generally used to describe a wooden single-cone resonator guitar, 100%, regardless of brand, right? Like Kleenex, tissue, 100%, Xerox copies, etc. Around here, we call all soda Coke. Megan actually plays a lap steel guitar, which produces a similar twangy, echoey sound. Yeah, I'm thinking Boss Fan may have said this on Patreon. I can't remember. My brain's getting scrambled here last few days. Echoey sound when played with a slide, but it's a slightly different animal. Gotcha. Thank you for your time. Say no to drugs and stay in school. That's it. That's all. Yep. Everything. Just listen to Boss Fan, and your life will be much better. All right. That's going to wrap up our comments. I went a little long today. Our upcoming reactions, I remember to pull the list this time. Friday, we got Rob and Austin singing opera. That one was just great. Monday is VoicePlay Unchained Melody. Tuesday is Bruce, One Step Up. Wednesday, we have a little bit different video. It's going to be Scarlett Sullivan, who is a 14, she may be 15 now, up-and-coming singer-songwriter from my home state of Mississippi. She's got hundreds of thousands of plays on Spotify. So stay tuned for that on Wednesday. And the next Friday, we'll have Home Free, Skull and Bones, double feature with both the lyric and live videos. Y'all stick around for that. Thank y'all so much. Liking, commenting, subscribing, supporting us on Patreon, everything you do. All of our EOV clubbers especially. So stick around, and we'll see you soon.